Okay, so now let's talk about assessment validity. Validity means we're asking ourselves, does this assessment measure what it's supposed to measure? In other words, is it accurate? So we can have assessments that are reliable but aren't necessarily valid. So we want to make sure that whatever we design to collect evidence from kids is directly connected to the learning goals, content, thinking, or whatever it is that we want to observe, access, or document evidence of. So let's say, for example, we want to know what your fitness level is. We could design an assessment that would take a look at 3 factors: your body composition, you know, that little pinch test where they find a squishy part of your body and give it a little pinch, bicep size, diet, and this over time would prove reliable, consistent. But the truth is it's not really accurate, or what we call valid, because our fitness is not gauged by our body composition, our bicep size, and diet. Rather, a better indicators would be, okay, what's your muscular strength, your flexibility, your cardiovascular endurance? Those weren't included in the assessment. So in addition, by the way, we need to make sure that since we and parents and school districts were making decisions about students based on the assessments, whatever their grades are, whether or not they're going to be promoting or graduating, it's really imperative that the assessments we administer are valid, even more so than we worry about reliability. And by the way, if a test is valid, it's almost always reliable. Since we're concerned about increasing the validity of our assessments, we want to make sure that we examine the test itself, its content, and make sure that it aligns with the learning goals or objectives. So let's say our learning goal is for students to be able to demonstrate strategic thinking. What we need to do is determine what are the exact cognitive or behavioral processes that are involved in strategic thinking. And we would determine something like, well, they need to be able to examine a problem, identify and or evaluate potential solutions, weigh the options of those, and then select one and justify that. So if our assessment is aligned with the actual learning goal, if we can figure out what the specific cognitive processes as well as the behavioral tasks are, then chances are we're going to increase the validity of our assessment. Now, there are different types of validity. There's content validity, which is the extent to which the content itself matches the instructional objectives. You have criterion validity, which is the extent to which the scores on the test are in agreement or predict some sort of external criterion. For example, if the end of the year math tests in 4th grade are actually correlated with the statewide math tests, that means we're going to have some high concurrent validity for that. And then, of course, we have construct validity, and that's the extent to which the construct, the individual groups of skill items, correspond to other variables. Okay. So the one that we're focusing on the most, at least for this part of the course, is how can we improve the content validity. So let's do a quick check. I'd like you to look at each of the following graphics and then determine if each one is a graphical representation of being reliable, valid, not reliable, or not valid. Okay, so it can be any combination of them. So here you go. Here are your graphics. First one. If you look at this, is this reliable? Does it look like it's doing the same thing consistently over time? Is it valid? Is it measuring what it is that we want to measure? Now the next one. Reliability. Is it being consistent over time? Is it valid? Is it measuring what it is that we want to measure? And you have this one. Again, is it consistent over time? Is it measuring what it is we want to measure? And then you have this one. Is it consistent over time? And is it measuring what it is that we want to measure? Okay, so let's do a quick check and see what your answers were, or the answers could be. So in this case, we're looking at something that's reliable, but not valid. It does seem to be hitting the same mark, but it's not where we want it to be. Okay, so it's off here, but it is the same thing over time. Therefore, it's reliable, not valid. This right here is a representation of being neither reliable nor valid, because it's not hitting the same place over time, and it's not measuring what we want it to measure. We're not able to tell to what degree this person is actually being accurate. Okay, this right here would be considered both reliable and valid. Okay, it does seem to be pretty consistent about where it's landing over time, and it's scattered in a way that shows us that it is measuring, in fact, what we want it to measure. This, however, is valid. Okay, it does seem to put an accurate depiction of where people are, where this person is being able to hit the target. Okay, but it's not reliable.